I think there was two things. I didn't realize, and I don't think most people realize how much of a risk it is for men to get married.
Massive.
And, I'd heard of men getting screwed over in divorce, but like in a blue pill perspective, you're like, well, she had the kids, so maybe she's owed a little bit is what you think until you really think about it and you're like, wait, she worked too. What are we?
Yeah.
It's not the same 1920s structure anymore. We're
No.
not the same type of women.
Mm-mm.
And I also didn't realize how hard it is for men to get access to their kids. And
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing for me. It's not even about money. It's like I've talked to guy after guy after guy who lives a mile from his kid and hasn't seen them in months. And it's just like she can do that with one call and no
Well,
repercussions.
my mom did that to my dad. That's why we went to custody court so many times.
Wow.
In fact, she would have got him. Somebody died in his family, inherited $10,000. He was just about he was out of money with the lawyers, and
Mm-hmm.
he used that last 10 grand to fight it. And that's, I mean, and look, we did not spend a lot of time together growing up, but I appreciate that from him. And that's why, like I did the other day, I paid his house off. He's a good man, and he was born in a certain time in history where the cards were super. He didn't have Rolo Tomasi. He didn't have Cooper. He didn't have me. He didn't have Tate. He didn't understand. He was doing exactly what he saw work, which was his. My grandfather was a World War II tail gunner. Came home, bought a bunch of land, farmed cotton, built houses, and his father was masculine. He was dominant. He would literally be sitting at the table. His tea would not run out before my grandmother was up pouring it back. I mean, literally cotton tablecloths, cotton napkins. The table was set. She cooked every meal 3 times a day. They'd come in off the farm and eat lunch and go right back out in the field. He saw this thing work, and so he bought into it. Much like you, he married one for the streets, and it wrecked him. It really did. It wrecked him. He married her twice. It financially fucked him up. He was never going to be rich already. It kept him poor.
Mm-hmm.
When I would go see him in the summers, he lived in, God, it must have been a 900, 800 square foot house, $50 a month rent in the middle of some cotton fields in Rayville, Louisiana. Like he never, I mean, she made him poor for a very long time. And all she had to do is keep accusing him things like molesting my little sister, like crazy shit, you know? And
And
here we
there's no
are.
consequence.
And there's no consequence.
And
It's like women that like chart say that people them.
well, and what I learned was, and you might already know this, but I didn't realize family court isn't about evidence. So it's on a balance of probabilities. It's not based on like evidence, and all they have to do is convince the judge. And so it's like they're not even getting their right to like face their accuser, their right to a fair
Oh
trial.
no. So
Yeah.
what they will talk about is the papers a lot
Hmm.
in that life. Our whole childhood was wrapped around the papers.
Hmm.
And
How old were you?
me,
Like back then?
oh, I
When
was
this?
very young, sub 10,
Wow.
sub 8, sub 7, like young,
Hmm.
young, when all this was happening. So we'd have to go to the courthouse for these things, but they would go in the judges' chambers and have conversations. It was more like that. You're exactly right.
Hmm.
They had way more of a relationship with the judge than you would normally have in like a normal trial. The judge is just a guy. He's going to referee this thing. No, they knew this guy, Judge Strong.
Hmm.
Even I know his name. I'm in my 30s now, and his name was Judge Strong. He's a long time dead,
Hmm.
but it was in Rayville, and yeah, it was just one of those situations where Rayville, Louisiana, nowhere town, but it's very, very much like that. Because what are you going to do? So she accuses him of molestation. They're going to ask my 5-year-old sister, like,
Even if they didn't convict him or they didn't, if even if they didn't conclude that he did that, what consequence does she have for doing that?
nothing.
Nothing.
But I'm a big proponent of if you accuse somebody and they're found not guilty, you should get the same time that he would have got.
I agree with you.
1,000%. Anybody with common sense would, you know? And if you don't call the police within at least 48 hours, it should get thrown out immediately. Because then it's just, oh, you regret it.
Hmm.
Like, call us, but at least make a report,
Hmm.
why you think about it. But
The only thing I could see is maybe like childhood stuff. You know what I mean? Like, cause
yep.
like
Yeah,
I
because then,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
I completely agree with
Yeah.
that because then you're in this, everybody that takes care of you, you're going to get
Yeah.
kicked out.
But it's still even tricky with that because it's like what what evidence, it's not really a black and white,
No, it's not.
because I was like my first thought was going to, well, what about kids that were abused? But then my second thought is, well, that seems like a system that could get abused really easily
Really
too.
easily.
And I'm sure it already does. I don't know much about like accusing someone of something years ago. I don't know how that works, but
I don't either. I don't either. It's a sad situation, but it certainly still happens.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things that I feel like as society, I think in 200 years they're gonna look back at where we are right now, and they're gonna be like, wow, they were kind of in the Stone Age, kind of like how we look at you know the Middle Ages, let's say,
Mhm.
kings and queens. I'm like, oh, they didn't even have Netflix. They're gonna be
Mhm.
like, those people, they used to, they killed Princess Diana in a tunnel and like got away with it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. I think they'll be like, wow, they really were crooked back then. Social media, they'll say the same thing about elections and people getting muted and all kinds of things. They'll be like, there was a power trip.
Do you believe in the deep state?
Educate me.
The Matrix. I mean, some people call it the Matrix, the deep state. Like, what is that for
Yeah, I
us?
think there's probably some pretty wild WhatsApp group chats
Okay.
where you're like, if you saw the lineup in that group chat, you'd be like, fuck, they can do anything they want. Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
Simply that.
That's it.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
couple that with I think that Elon getting a hold of Twitter is one of the best things happened for humanity in a very long time. And it would have took just that, because at least there's going to be some kind of free speech now.
Hmm.
So I respect that. I was really excited when he picked up Twitter. So
He's funny too. He's tweeting.
yeah, he's cool, bro. And I put him up there like Trump and stuff like that. Like I really appreciate Elon. Yeah.
Tell me about your friendship with Tate.
What would you like to know?
How's he doing?
He's doing well. He's doing well. You can't break Tate. So any man that does anything great in this world will come out under some trials and tribulations and fire, and he's just going through his. I have nothing but confidence in Andrew. I believe in him fully, love him, miss him.
Hmm.
It's great being able to hear it from him, and I suspect nothing but good things to come. In fact, I think this is going to do nothing but 10x his influence, and for that reason, I don't think there's anything to worry about. I also would never put negative energy in there about somebody I care about so much. We put good things into the universe,
Hmm.
It's not a law of attraction thing. It's just putting it out there. So I know everything's about. I know they're not going to be able to prove it. Everything they're accusing him
It's
of
ridiculous.
was completely
It's
asinine,
actually
right?
ridiculous.
Oh, you mean the 6'3" kickboxing millionaire with all the Lambos? That's as smart as any person you'll ever
And
meet.
then I found out they were luxury shopping, and I was like,
Yeah,
you were held captive to
it's
go
laughable.
luxury shopping.
It's laughable.
Well, and oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine this story, all right? I think about this. If I had to tell my dad, oh, dad, I went to Romania, did cam work for this multimillionaire, luxury shopped, got to, he drove me in these sports cars.
Yeah,
And now I decided I was coerced.
yeah.
Or I don't know the official.
It sounds like you were in love with James Bond and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to.
That's what it's, I'm not going to act like I know every fact from the case, but the way it sounds crazy.
I'll give you a fact from the case.
Okay.
There's cameras all over that house. Why aren't they just using that? When you walk into Andrew's house, there's a screen and it shows the cameras for the whole property. He's got a security team there.
Mm.
All that camera footage, just put that out. Just put that out.
Why don't they? That's so weird.
Why would they? They literally had him in jail.
Mm.
He's just been released, as we know. But he's under house arrest right now for he does not have to force himself upon a woman. Andrew's biggest problem and Tristan's biggest problem is what woman to choose. I can tell you that for a fact. I've just been around him too much. Jules been around him too much. That's Jules' job,
Mm-hmm.
is to find these things in people and find these incongruent. Like he's an investigator. He has been for years, at a very, very high level. Jules himself would know. And he comes out openly and tells you, look, I've been around these guys more than anybody.
What do you
There's no
say?
way.
What do you say to the people that say, well, maybe he just has another side that you didn't know?
That would be like owning a grocery store and going to steal food. Why? Why? That, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
let me tell you something. Women is something that both of those boys are in abundance of, for sure.
I told,
There's no reason to do it.
I said, I was like, you should make a website application for
Oh,
girls.
I
I
thought
was like,
about doing that for my harem.
yeah, that's what
I'm
I
gonna make an
said.
application process.
I was like, if the
Apply here.
imagine if the Tates had that,
No,
the
they'd have to have a
website would,
full time. No, they'd have to have a full time staff to sift through it.
yeah.
Full time staff. Fuck, I would need a staff to sift through it. I can tell you right now, whatever my staff would have to be, they'd have to have 10 more. There's no fucking way.